Nobody goes from 25% body fat to shredded in 30 days. Not if the whole story gets told. Every real fat loss journey moves through the exact same 4 phases, no matter where it starts. This video breaks down each phase, what to expect while going through it, and the one mistake that causes almost everyone to quit a phase too early, right before the belly finally starts changing. The first phase can be called the ghost phase, because the progress is real, but it stays invisible. The scale might move a little, the face might look slightly less puffy. Zero visible change. It feels insulting, and this is exactly where most people quit. Not because fat loss stopped working, but because it never looked like it started. Here's why that happens. Fat loss isn't a light switch. It's more like a download bar with no percentage counter. Think about installing a large file and watching the progress sit at 0 for 10 minutes. The file is still downloading, the computer is still working, there's just nothing to see yet. That's the first month of fat loss. Fat cells are shrinking everywhere, but the higher the starting body fat percentage, the less noticeable each pound lost becomes. A lot has to come off before the eyes register any of it. So what's the honest truth about month 1? Dramatic results aren't supposed to show up yet. This phase is about building momentum, and that's exactly why it eliminates almost everyone who tries. 2 numbers keep this phase sane. The first is waist measurement, wrapped around the belly button, same day, same time, same conditions, once a week. The mirror lies, the tape measure doesn't. The second is weekly average weight, not daily weight. Daily weight can swing 2 to 4 pounds from sodium, water, carbohydrates, and that pizza from Friday night. Judging fat loss from a single morning's number is like judging a movie from a single frame. If the weekly average trends down and the tape shrinks even by a centimeter, it's working. It just isn't visible yet. The second phase is where the body starts trolling. Call this the unfair phase. Fat starts leaving. The jawline shows up. Veins appear on the forearms. Shoulders get a bit more cut. Friends start commenting on looking leaner. And the belly? Exactly the same as before. Why does this happen, and why does it feel so unfair? Picture fat storage like money. Arms, face, and chest work like a checking account, easy to access, easy to spend. The belly works like a savings account, the money set aside and left untouched unless things get desperate. Which account gets spent first? Exactly the easy one. There's more to it than that, though. 2 more reasons, actually. The first is signal strength. Every fat cell carries tiny receptors. Some receive the message to burn, others are built to ignore it. Abdominal fat is packed with the ones that ignore it. So when the body sends out its fat-burning signal, the arms pick it up instantly. The belly sits in the one corner of the house where the signal barely reaches. The second reason is delivery speed. Abdominal fat receives less blood flow than fat around the arms or shoulders, and less blood flow means fewer vehicles arriving to carry the broken-down fat away. Even once the body finally agrees to burn it, pickup runs painfully slow. Research on regional fat metabolism, the kind published in journals like the Journal of Applied Physiology, backs this up. Abdominal fat cells really do have fewer of the receptors that trigger fat release, and the area gets comparatively less blood flow than fat elsewhere on the body. So the belly isn't stubborn out of spite, it's simply last in line, with a weak signal and a slow truck. That means phase 2 calls for exactly one action, nothing different. No fat burner added. No extra 300 crunches. No cutting carbs, just to be safe. Just staying the course. The line is moving. It just hasn't reached the front yet. But if the line genuinely isn't moving, there's a good chance the starting condition for all 4 phases hasn't been met, a real calorie deficit, meaning fewer calories eaten than burned. That single condition is the entire engine behind fat loss. And here's where most people go wrong, not from a lack of discipline, but from guessing. 1800 calories sounds about right for today, but was it actually 1800, or closer to 2600? Suddenly a deficit that felt certain never existed at all. Weighing every ingredient and running the math before every meal is one option, but does fat loss really need to feel like a second job? Tracking apps that use a photo of a plate to estimate calories and macros exist precisely to remove that guesswork, closing the gap between a deficit that feels real and one that's actually happening. Right down to catching the extra couple hundred calories a drizzle of olive oil can quietly add. Phase 3 is where the belly finally starts shrinking, and it's also where people assume they're nearly finished. Some shape appears, maybe the top 2 abs show up under good lighting, then everything slows down. Welcome to the ketchup bottle phase. A full ketchup bottle needs only a small tilt before the ketchup pours out easily. That's the start of fat loss. Cutting soda, walking a little more, eating slightly better, and the first pounds disappear fast. But once the bottle is nearly empty, now it takes shaking, tapping the bottom, negotiating with it. Same bottle, 10 times the effort for one small drop. That's what getting lean feels like near the end. The leaner the body gets, the smaller the margin for error becomes. Eyeballing portions stops working. Skipping steps because of rain stops being harmless. A cheat meal that turns into 3,000 extra calories can erase an entire week's deficit in one sitting. Nothing got harder biologically. Metabolism didn't break. The room for sloppiness simply ran out. Anyone who's been dieting for 3 months and still feels stuck in phase 1 shouldn't worry, that's completely normal. These time frames assume a starting point around 20 to 25% body fat. Starting higher doesn't erase the phases, it stretches them. Phase 1 might last 6 weeks instead of 1 month. Phase 2 might stretch to 3 months instead of a few weeks. Phase 4 is the one nobody warns anyone about, the trap. Abs are visible. The gut is gone. The physique everyone's been chasing has arrived. Then comes a question nobody prepared for: is living here, permanently, actually the goal? Getting shredded isn't impossible. Staying shredded is a completely different story. Social media makes it look effortless, like the person at 7% body fat eats burgers and drinks beer year-round while feeling amazing. That's not reality. At that level of leanness, hunger runs high all day, energy drops, lifts go backward, the cold hits harder than it should, sleep gets worse, and food occupies far too much mental space. Extreme leanness isn't a lifestyle. It's a sprint, and sprints aren't meant to last a year. So where's the actual finish line? For most natural lifters, the sweet spot sits around 10 to 12% body fat. At that range, visible abs, strong muscle definition, and a physique that still feels sustainable all come together. Even up to 15%, the result still beats what most people in any room are carrying. So the real goal isn't the extreme, it's making 10 to 15% body fat feel like home, because fitness is supposed to improve a life, not consume it entirely. That's the honest 4-phase timeline. The invisible ghost phase that eliminates the impatient, the unfair phase where everywhere but the belly leans out, the ketchup bottle phase where progress slows and precision matters more, and the trap phase where the real question becomes whether the result is sustainable at all. The one insight worth remembering: the belly isn't broken and the body isn't sabotaging anyone, it's just following predictable biology, last in line by design. The takeaway for the very next workout and the very next meal is simple: stop judging progress by the mirror alone, track the waist and the weekly average instead, and trust that invisible progress is still progress. Subscribe to FitLab for the science-backed breakdowns that make every stage of this process make sense.